Feast your eyes on my man's here, this statuesque, silver-tongued specimen. And generous, thank you. Let's learn the fun-sized story of griots, West Africa's praise singers and professional flatterers. Flattery, the heaping on of praise, often insincerely, is a dish most savored by history's powerful. Without much in the way of money, power, or stuff, most of us grow suspicious of flatterers. But for the hegemons of our society, likely due to their own inflated sense of self-worth, praise is sought after, thoroughly enjoyed, and sometimes handsomely compensated. For a particularly clever and enterprising individual, one could make a lucrative career out of professional brown-nosing. And in West Africa, this occupation was practiced by an entire hereditary social class, known by the French catch-all term, the griots. Now, yes men are always to be found in a powerful person's orbit, but this profession was not all simply kissing butt. Flattery was just what paid the bills. Griots often fulfilled a variety of roles, including historian, storyteller, master instrumentalist, royal tutor, and even diplomat. Early European expeditions to Africa's coast reported first being met by a griot, loudly boasting of the local leader in song. Griot tradition stretches to at least the 1300s, when the famous Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta first documented this phenomenon. Usually sponsored by a wealthy family, they often lived off gifts and even housing provided by their patrons. These artists in residence were like Michelangelo at the Vatican. If 80% of his work was portraits of the Pope with a chiseled jaw and six-pack abs. While praising their sponsors was the main act, large parts of the griot repertoire are historical in nature. By singing their patrons' family history and connecting them by blood relation to great heroes or kings of centuries past, they could bolster a family's reputation. In fact, in the absence of written records, griot retellings of West African epic stories, like the life of the 13th century folk hero Soundiata Keita, are some of the best sources we have for the history of the region. Griots were also known to take poetic license and highly improvise their stories. If their patrons had a not-so-savory event in their family history, depending on how generous the gift-giving was, griots could engineer and spread a new narrative that omitted or rewrote the shameful episodes of the family's past. However, by owning shared memory, they could also defame luminary families, especially if the gravy train stopped. According to a proverb from Mali, a griot may enhance your name, but he may also destroy it. This led to a distinct love-hate relationship with the praise singers in the various countries of the region. More on this later. Griots were expected to be present at pivotal festivals and celebrations, usually as status symbols for families that could afford them. Of course, this was a great opportunity to be showered with gifts, so griots often showed up uninvited to earn a living. Since they could also spread word well that a family was cheap, these gifts were often lavish out of fear. A family of griots could be attached to a wealthy family for generations. This lent credence when they were singing the family's history, because of course, one of their own ancestors had been around to observe it. These histories could also explain why a family was in power compared to others, and legitimize that power based on the deeds of their predecessors. In more recent times, when Mali gained independence from France in the 1960s, its first two presidents broadcast griots singing their praises on the radio. These leaders' last names, Keita and Traoré, were identical to those of the protagonists of the aforementioned Soundiata epic. The praise singers likely had their work cut out for them. Griots could be so important to 20th century West African leaders that some received state funerals or were featured on postage stamps. Women were also prominent griots, or griots, though each type of song had fairly rigid rules about which gender would sing them. The female tradition of Senegal includes a type of poetry called tasu, where the lyrics are recited in rhythmic fashion, similar to rapping. Due to tasu and the central role of boasting in the griot songs, many scholars see the roots of hip-hop in this tradition. Considering the rapper Too Short started his career by writing praise raps for local drug dealers, there may be something there. Others see the genesis of blues here. The griots of Mali accompany their songs with a native lute, and their use of pentatonic scales, slides, and bends would feel very familiar in Mississippi or New Orleans. Since slaves from Mali were valued for their rice-growing expertise and often brought to Louisiana, this connection is not too far-fetched. But as always with history, interesting theory, but we'll never really know. For all this great artistry, griots occupied a curious space in the hierarchy of their society. From a Eurocentric perspective, it is tempting to relate them to the concept of a bard, an honorific term we usually bestow on William Shakespeare as one of the English language's preeminent poets. But griots were nothing but. They were viewed with ambivalence, at once lauded for guarding the history and poetry of the ancient epics, and also denigrated as loud outcasts, full of empty praise and a lust for donations. Given the beauty of their craft, this perception may seem bizarre, but it was damn serious. When a griot died, it was believed that their body was impure, and if buried, would render the ground infertile. Today in Senegal, placed in the trunk of a gigantic baobab tree, you can visit a mass grave, with trees being considered the only proper place for a griot's remains. Remember, history isn't just kings and dates. It's a story of you and me, just in different times and different circumstances. One big soap opera, and we should learn it that way. Here I come to ask you to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, join the conversation on Reddit, and consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. You better like and subscribe.